The absolute basics of the Christian faith. Who is God? The Trinity is one of the most important theological ideas ever, but it gives people panic attacks when they think about it. So this chapter will give you the building blocks you need to understand what the Trinity is and why it matters so much. God is three persons who have existed for all eternity, are all equally powerful, wise, and good, and have always depended on each other. There's the Father, the Son, and the Spirit existing in perfect harmony as one God. So how can this be? How can you have three things that exist perfectly together as one? Well, here's the thing. If you can understand a tiny bit about how music works, you can understand the basics of the Trinity. So find a piano, pick any white key, and put your thumb on it, then skip a white key and put your index finger on the next one, then skip one more and put your middle finger on the next white key. Now press down your thumb, index finger, and middle finger, and boom, there's a harmonic chord. Three distinct sounds, all existing in a perfect harmony. Three things that are also one thing. The threeness and the oneness work perfectly together. This gives us a picture, rather a sound, of what God is like. There is one God, like the one chord, with three persons, like the three notes, all existing in perfect harmony forever. So, unlike the chord, which we just played, which came into being, then ceased to exist, the three persons of the Trinity have always existed. They've always existed in the relationship of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. The Father has always been Father to the Son. You can't be a Father without a Son. The Son has always been Son to the Father, and they've always been unified by the love of the Spirit. What this means is the most basic fact of all reality is loving relationship. Before there was a world, there was a family, the family of the triune God. So when you get down to the very bottom of things, to the root of all reality, there's love. C.S. Lewis makes this interesting point in Mere Christianity. He writes, "All sorts of people are fond of repeating the Christian statement that God is love, but they seem not to notice that the words God is love have no real meaning unless God contains at least two persons. Love is something that one person has for another person. If God was a single person, then before the world was made, he was not love." So the fact that God is perfectly loving requires that God is relational. And the opposite is also true. The fact that God is relational requires that God is perfectly loving. And here's why. If God is triune, we know that God is love because you can't have three people existing for all eternity in harmonious relationship if they aren't perfectly loving. Imagine existing for all eternity with your brothers and sisters, or even your friends. Eventually you get into some fights. But the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, they don't fight. We know that God is love because God is a Trinity. And we know that God is a Trinity because God is love. So the Trinity is this perfect loving relationship that's always existed, one God and three persons. And because the Trinity is one God, the persons work together in everything they do. In Matthew 28:19, Jesus says, "We are baptized in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit." The entire Trinity is at work in saving us, so we must name the whole Trinity as we're made part of Christ's body through baptism. And it's not just baptism. All throughout the story of Jesus, we see all three persons at work. There's a pattern here. The Father is the source of everything, and he sends the Son to the world in the power of the Spirit. We see this in Jesus' birth. By the Holy Spirit, the Son of God is born into the world. We see this in Jesus' baptism. The Son carries out the mission of the Father in the power of the Spirit. And we see this in Jesus' blessing of his disciples when he ascends. When the Son goes back to the Father, he sends the Spirit to empower us. Did you detect the pattern? Here it is again. The Father is the source and goal of our salvation. Jesus is the way, and the Holy Spirit is the power to get there. Imagine it a bit like this. The Father is the one who says, "Let there be light," and the Son goes and flips on the light switch, and the Spirit is the electricity that powers the light bulb. The Father is the source, the Son is the way, and the Holy Spirit is the power. Another way of thinking about this is to imagine yourself kneeling and praying the Lord's Prayer. We're praying the prayer that Jesus taught us. Now imagine Jesus is standing beside you. And so we begin by praying Our Father, and immediately we see that Jesus is helping us to have right relationship with his Father. Now, also imagine it's the Holy Spirit inside you who's giving you the power to pray the prayer Jesus taught us. The Son beside you, the Father above you, the Spirit inside you, all working to give us a right relationship with God. All this might seem a bit mysterious and complicated, but the nice thing is that once you start looking for the Trinity, you see it everywhere. For instance, the very words of the Apostles' Creed are shaped by the Trinity. We begin with the Father, the source, move to the Son, the way, and end with the Spirit and the Spirit's area of work, empowering the church. The Father above you, Jesus beside you, the Spirit inside you. There you go. There's the Trinity.